Today, we're going to do something a little different. We're going to take a single 3,000-year-old command and completely unpack it. Why? Well, because hidden inside this ancient instruction is a surprisingly modern, almost like a blueprint, for what it means to find real, genuine joy. And it all kicks off with this really strange question. Can you actually be commanded to be happy? I mean, it sounds like a total paradox, doesn't it? It's like telling someone, all right, on the count of 3, relax. But that is exactly what we find in this ancient text. It's a puzzle, and we are going to solve it together. Here it is. This is the verse from the book of Deuteronomy. Now, on the surface, you might glance at this and think, okay, a straightforward set of ritual instructions. But this isn't just some to-do list. This is a formula, a spiritual blueprint with some incredible depth that we're about to get into. So let's take a closer look at this blueprint. You'll see this single command is actually a 3-part process. You can think of it like a recipe, really, where each step builds on the last one, and it all leads to a very, very specific outcome. So here are our 3 steps. First, you offer a very specific kind of sacrifice. Second, you eat a part of that sacrifice. And third, as a direct result of the first 2, you rejoice. See? It's a pretty clear roadmap. So let's start at the beginning with step 1.
All right, so the whole thing kicks off with that first instruction: offer fellowship offerings. Now, this wasn't just any old sacrifice. The specific type of offering mentioned here is the absolute key to understanding everything else that follows.
The Hebrew word used here is shalamim. Now, if that sounds kind of familiar, it's because it comes from the exact same root as the famous word shalom. And shalom means so much more than just peace. We're talking wholeness, completeness, total well-being. So right from the very start, this offering is all about connection and restoration, not just going through some religious motions.
And you can see that in its purpose. Get this. This was a completely voluntary act. This wasn't about paying for a sin you committed. It was all about expressing thanks, celebrating a relationship, and just experiencing genuine fellowship with God. It was an offering you wanted to bring, not when you had to.
And this slide right here brilliantly illustrates that crucial difference. You see, with a burnt offering, the one for sin, the entire animal was consumed on the altar. It was all for God. But with the fellowship offering, only a small portion was given to God. And the rest? Well, it was meant to be shared, which leads us directly to the second part of the command. That whole idea of sharing, well, it takes us right to step 2. The command says to eat them there, and this is about so much more than just not letting good food go to waste. This act of eating is the very heart of the entire experience. I mean, think about it. Sharing a meal together is one of the most fundamental human acts of friendship and intimacy. So by commanding the people to eat the sacrifice, God was basically inviting them to pull up a chair at His table, to share a meal with Him. This wasn't some distant, formal ritual. It was a deeply personal act of communion. It completely transformed the whole event. You know, God received His portion from the altar, and the people received theirs. It was this tangible, powerful symbol that they were at peace with their God, that they were in this close covenant relationship. And that brings us to the final step, and a solution to our whole puzzle: rejoice. You see, the joy wasn't a separate random instruction just tacked on at the end. It was the natural, inevitable outcome. It answers that question, can you be commanded to be happy, by showing that it's not about forcing an emotion, but about following the steps that actually produce it. After you've expressed gratitude and experienced that kind of fellowship, what else could you possibly feel but joy? Okay, so we've seen what the command is, but trust me, where it all happens makes the story even more incredible. To really grasp the power of this blueprint, we need to zoom out for a second and look at the surprising context where all this was supposed to take place. And this is where the story just takes a fascinating turn. The Israelites were told to set up these 2 mountains, Mount Gerizim for all the blessings and Mount Ebal for all the curses. So, where do you think this altar for a joyful fellowship meal was supposed to be built? On Mount Ebal, the mountain of curses. It's an absolutely stunning message. Even in a place that's defined by failure and consequences, a path to gratitude, fellowship, and joy is made possible. The order of the full ceremony makes perfect theological sense too. First, the people were supposed to offer burnt offerings. This symbolized total dedication and, making things right with God. And only after that relationship was established could they move on to step 2, celebrating that relationship with a joyful fellowship meal. First atonement, then communion.
So, when you put it all together, what does this ancient blueprint really teach us? Well, it shows that God is way more interested in a relationship than in just mere ritual. It places fellowship, that act of sharing a meal together, right at the absolute heart of worship. And it reveals that true, lasting joy isn't just something we stumble upon, it's the fruit that grows from a life of gratitude and peace with God.
If you take away just one thing from all this, let it be this. This ancient command wasn't about trying to get people to follow a bunch of religious rules. It was this beautiful invitation from God, showing that He doesn't want blind obedience. He wants a dynamic, joyful relationship with His people. And that brings it all right back to us, here and now. The altars and the animal sacrifices might be gone, but that blueprint, it remains. The invitation to experience gratitude, to seek fellowship, and to find a joy that flows from that connection, that's timeless. So I guess the question for us is, what does that joyful fellowship look like in our own lives today?